Good morning. Om Shanti. It's lovely to be here. You are all very lucky to be in Gyan Sarovar. Did you know that? Yes, I've been down in Shantivan and I've been missing you all. So it's nice to be up here for a little bit. Anyhow, today's topic is understanding, healing, and transforming emotions. So what emotions would you like to deal with today? Any ideas? Huh? Ooh, resentment. Okay. What else? Disheartenment. Let me just write these down. Okay, resentment, disheartenment. Anything else? Dolor. So, pain. Como en depresión. Okay, bueno. Pain is in depression. Regret. Did you hear the bug message this morning? Anger. Fear. Oh my goodness. I'm hearing something, but I don't know. Confusion? Okay. Guilt. Okay, great. Jealousy. Boy, this is a big agenda. Okay, wonderful. Any other burning emotions? What? Attachment. Okay. Okay, well, we better stop there because you didn't mention ego, so I'll give you my favorite one for ego because it's really brief. Do you know my favorite one for ego whenever I find I have ego? Do you know of the mouse that had a grain of turmeric and he thought he was a grocer? You know that story? So whenever I have ego, I say, oh, look at my grain of turmeric. And the ego goes away. Anyhow, we all love being with Baba and flying. And I think many of us, when we come to Baba, we really experience the joy and the love and the relief of being with Baba, the joy of finding God, God finding us, the immense love that He gives, and the happiness that makes us fly. I mean, there's really nothing like it. I remember when I very first came to Baba, I had taken the course in Madhavan, and I'd been traveling around India and Nepal and Sri Lanka and through Europe for a number of months. And I met Sister Helen, who's now in Indonesia. And she ended up inviting me to Mount Abu, and I took the course. And so I was on lesson number 5, and she said, if you finish the 7-day course by Monday, you can meet God. And I said, pardon me? And she said, he's coming at 6. And I said, oh, he comes by appointment. And she said, yes. So anyhow, it was a wonderful beginning. And I always think that everyone has more faith in God than I had, because I had to really experience Bap Dada because I didn't believe in God, and I thought much of the Course was interesting. But how did they ever make this up? That when Dada was there on the gutty and Baba came within 5 minutes, I was thinking, wow, I don't believe in God, and here he is. Now what? So I became an instant Brahmin, and it was a beautiful beginning. And so I was walking around Madhaban making up songs to myself when I was alone and nobody could hear me, and just thoroughly enjoying Baba. So Baba always says, remember the days of your childhood. And they're wonderful. And as we go along in Brahmin life, in time, the meditations get better and we learn how to fly more and more and more. But sometimes there's little patches of darkness and there's difficulties. And sometimes we get what Baba refers to as the Brahmin flu. Has anybody ever had the Brahmin flu? Yes, that's when you go to bed because no one loves you. And so sometimes we get the Brahmin flu. And there's not just the Brahmin flu, but in reality, every single negative samskara that we have will come into your mind. Every single karmic lesson that you need to learn will come. You know, Baba saves our life in Raj Yoga. He has saved mine many times in many ways, but that's a whole other set of stories. So your lifespan increases through yoga, but it means that you also will have your karmic accounts come up. And we have to learn how to settle them with grace and with understanding and with dignity and love. And so, while we all enjoy flying and experiencing our natural samskaras, because we, the soul, we all have these beautiful, beautiful natural samskaras, you know, of just simply being a soul. You know, if you think about it, why does Baba have us do the drill? You know, he tells us to experience being a point of light, to experience being in golden age, to experience being, you know, bestowing and giving out the benevolence of your worship-worthy form. He talks about being a Brahmin and being an angel. So there's reasons why Baba tells us to do that. And the reason is that through yoga, what he's doing is he's rekindling all these natural soul-conscious samskaras that are so beautiful. And these are actually become very, very important in fighting the negativity, because the soul is being completely empowered again. And we need the tools, we need all these virtues, we need all these experiences so that in 1 second we can put those experiences into our mind and we can vanquish a negative emotion. In Raj Yoga talk, these are all feelings, they're all pure feelings. You know how Baba says, always have good wishes and pure feelings for everyone? So these are feelings. And then there's the emotions. So the emotions are the things that get started with our samskaras. And as we come into Copper Age and we've lost a lot of energy, we very purely want to experience that same love that we got before, and that same pleasure and bliss and joy and happiness we had before. But in Copper Age, 50% of our energy is gone, as you know. And so it starts as a pure desire, but then there gets to be the negative. Okay? And it's as though these these desires change from pure to impure. And over time, we have sanskars that develop around them. And these sanskars, as they grow, of anger and these types of things, ego, attachment, lust, greed, all of these, they become sort of based around one of these false identities. Because we develop all these false identities having to do with the body, and then the sanskaras come around them, and they're rather like barnacles that block our light. And so, I think the first one of the sanskaras to develop is the ego. You know, because we can want that desire purely to be loved. And we can want that happiness. And so we think, well, if we have what this person has, if we're like this, if I own what they own, I'll be okay. And we start the false identity. And then as we get ego over that, and it goes into arrogance, and we begin to actually believe that we're better than people, then that starts our karmic accounts. There's attachment to the body as well. It's really attachment first, and then ego. And then the third one that develops is usually lust. And what lust usually does is, you know, Baba often says it's a sword. And once I had an image of that we're so soul conscious, and the sword of lust is like a sword that pierces the soul and allows the other sanskaras to develop of anger and of greed. So it opens up all those really lower vibrations. And so never be in despair or develop understanding when you are in despair that you're not bad when you have negative emotions. It's wonderful to be in the soul conscious ones, but the negative ones have to come. They're already in the soul, and so they have to come, as Baba says, to bid goodbye. So every single one of those sanskaras are going to come into the mind at some point in time, but don't feel badly about it. I remember when I was 7 years in Guyana, I was so proud of myself, and I thought, I never get angry anymore. I have conquered anger. Guess what? I hadn't. But sometimes there's stages, and Baba's protecting you. And he's protecting you from experiencing some of these emotions. And so he sort of keeps you in a cocoon. We're sort of like an onion. And you're beginning to be soul conscious, you're beginning to develop some soul conscious self-respect. And then you see one layer of negativity. And then you get more powerful. And then you see another layer. And then you get more powerful, and you see another layer. The beauty is you will see it when you're ready for it. So don't go looking for it. Just stay in that soul conscious space as much as you can and enjoy it. But things will come up, and when things come up into the mind, sometimes we can try to deny them. And that can work for a while. But denial is a dangerous thing, because when we deny our emotions, we have to repress them. We have to keep them down. We repress them, we try to suppress them, and we try to keep them down. And in time, that's dangerous, because if we deny them and we push them down, then what happens is they start to blow up. They start to grow. And they start to eat away at your happiness, because it's taking some of your energy to keep them down. Does that make sense? And then all of a sudden you explode and you don't know what happened. Has that ever happened to anyone? Okay. So, denial is one of the traditional psychological defense mechanisms. And it probably works for the first few years in Gyan. But after a while, as you begin to transform, you learn that it's better to just accept your emotions, that they're just there. And it's natural that in the process of the drama, that all the emotions you had over the last 2,500 years are going to come up. So if a negative emotion comes up, you don't need to feel guilty. Does Baba ever blame us in a Murli? I remember when I first came to Gyan and Baba would give a Dharam Raj Murli, I would say, that's not my Baba. Because I could only accept love from Baba. I was so sensitive and I had so much guilt that when he gave a Dharam Raj Murli, I couldn't take it at all. So I just say, oh, that's not my Baba. My Baba, I know Baba. Baba's just the ocean of love. But gradually, I learned how to listen to the Murli differently. And I began to really appreciate the Dharam Raj Murlis and love them. And I began to hear that Baba wasn't blaming us. He was simply explaining that these things will happen, and these are the laws of karma, and these are the results of karma. And I was gradually able to give up my guilt, because God did not blame me. So why should I blame myself? Guilt is very useful. It's very useful for 5 seconds. But it's only good for 5 seconds. And the reason it's good for 5 seconds is it gets your attention. But don't wallow in it. To wallow in guilt is self-indulgence. You don't need to. Guilt is useful because it's kept you good throughout the cycle. Bad people do not feel guilty. Only good people feel guilty. So congratulations for feeling guilty. And it's kept you very good throughout the cycle. So it's useful. But once you have your 5 seconds of guilt, then think, okay, what am I feeling guilty about? What would I have liked to have done instead? Okay, this is what I would have liked to have done instead. And then work on that positive quality in meditation and think about it in that way. And you can think to yourself, if I recognize the quality, if I know the quality, then the next time this happens, that's what I can do. And you can start even imagining, okay, if this happens again, rather than doing that, I can do this. And you meditate on that so that you can do it quickly. There's many different emotions, and we need to understand that they come up. And if we have a negative emotion such as anger, and let's say when we come to Gyan, we usually get angry at someone and we hold that resentment for months. And then gradually we only hold it for weeks, and then we only hold it for a week, and then we only hold it for 3 days, and then we only hold it for 2 hours, and then we only hold it for 5 minutes, and then we only hold it for 1 minute, and then we don't need to hold it anymore. So congratulations. Don't get disheartened. recognize that it's a process. And Baba's process works because this whole time, do your Amrit Vela. Amrit Vela is so important. That's the time when you can really take power from Baba. So take power from Baba and practice those original beautiful sanskaras. The purity, peace, love, happiness, bliss, powers, being true, being wise, being benevolent. Practice those original sanskaras and enjoy them. Practice all the virtues, they're invaluable. I want to tell you a story about understanding sanskaras. Because sometimes when we run into an emotional situation, we sort of get stuck in thinking about it and churning about it, and we can hold on to it for days. That's what you don't want to do. If you're going to get stuck in a problem, then actually stop. Stop and go by yourself. Take out a notebook or sit with Baba and think about the root of the problem. It's really very important to look at the root of the problem. As Baba was saying the other day, if you look at the root, then you can solve the problem. If you just stay in that lake of negative emotion, it's not going to get resolved. But look at the root. Okay, I'll tell you a story. Many, many years ago, I went to Poland. And I think it was in 1984, right, Alina? 1984? And I was only a Brahmin for 3 years. And Sister Elena had arranged this program with this journalist. And so, I was comfortable speaking to 10, 15, 20 people. But we went to this place, and there was hundreds of people there. 200 or 300 people, standing room only. Sister Helena said to me, she said, "Diane, I'd like to introduce you to the journalist that arranged this talk." I said, "I can't meet him now, I have to go throw up." So I went to the bathroom to see if I could throw up because I was so nervous, I was nauseous. So I looked longingly at the front door of this place and I thought, I can walk out that door and leave Poland and leave Raj Yoga. Or I can get on the stage and sit down. So I got on the stage. And fortunately, this lovely woman, Susanna, she introduced me. And then she said, and we'll have a couple of minutes of silence before Diane speaks. And so in that couple of minutes, Baba managed to get my intellect, because after all, he has to preserve his pride and his well-being, so he had to help me. And so he managed to get my intellect. And there was just this ray of love and peace coming in. And I had arranged the talk, but he slightly rearranged it. And he had my intellect, and it just had me linked. And so I was just sitting there listening, hearing, taking from what Baba said and speaking it. And at one point in time, Sister Helena, who was translating into Polish, she looked at me and she said, "Could you repeat that?" And I said, "I don't have any idea what I just said, but I can listen from now on if you like." And so I just kept listening to Baba, and afterwards people came up and they said, "Oh, that was so beautiful, the light and the love." And I thought to myself, well, it wasn't me. And outside I said, "Oh, thank you very much. I'm so glad you enjoyed it." But so Baba does help. But I thought to myself, okay, I need to look at this. Why am I so frightened of speaking to a group of people? So I need to look at the root of that problem. So how do I look at the root? Okay, this is a samskara that I have. Was it in my life before? When I was 9 years old, that's when it first occurred. I went from a very protected environment in a very small private school into a public school. And there were kids that were critical there. So my fear of criticism from others, my fear of what other people thought, all of a sudden emerged as a samskara at the age of 9. And that's what had occurred when I was afraid to speak. So before that, in this birth, it hadn't occurred. So that samskara must have been in a previous birth, right? So if I had that samskara in a previous birth, how did I get that samskara? Well, in order to be afraid of criticism, I must have done what? I must have criticized. So I had the samskara of criticizing. So that was the root of the problem. I had the fear of criticism because I had criticized. So what do I need to have instead? Appreciation. Good wishes and love for all. So what I worked on was having good wishes and love for all and stopping my criticism of everybody in my mind. So that's how to look. Use your knowledge of the soul, how it develops, and of karma to look at the root of the karma. Because we know what the lessons are. So all these samskaras that come up, we have to heal them. So how are we going to heal them? Some things we simply need to understand in order to heal them. For example, if we look at anger, right here, there's flames. Anger is like flames. When you have anger and you argue with someone, are you arguing nicely? Are you arguing with peaceful conflict resolution skills? No. Actually, when you're angry, you actually can't even think. When people get really, really angry, there's actually a place in the cortex that actually shuts off. It's truly amazing. You get so much into a stress response, and your amygdala, all the emotions really get going. But the cortex, essentially, the part that helps you really think, really sort of shuts off. So under the anger, what I want you to know about anger is it's not a primary emotion, it's a secondary emotion. Anger is never a first emotion. There is always something under it. So what's under anger? Fear, pain, defensiveness, someone said. Okay. So the hurt, which is the pain, the fear, desires, frustration. There's also feeling unsafe and shame. Okay? So there's these are the basic four: the fear, the hurt, the shame, and the unsafe. And then there can be, of course, the frustration. For example, I'm afraid that my son will not be successful in life. I'm really frustrated with their grades. Boy, am I going to give it to him that he got that D on his report card, or that C, or whatever it is, okay? The hurt, somebody calls me a name, somebody says something kind about me. I flash, I'm angry, but why? Because I'm hurt, okay? So these are first. They can go into other emotions like frustration and all those other things. But this is the first response to something that we don't like in the drama. And then, as Brahmins, we're a very interesting breed, because we do feel unsafe sometimes, in that when we come into Copper Age, we've gotten so accustomed in Golden and Silver Age to having everything just like we want it. And it's quite a shock for us, I think, in Copper and Iron Age when things aren't the way we want it anymore. And so it makes us feel unsafe when we don't get things, and then we can get angry. So this is the first response, and the anger is the secondary response. So what that means, the secondary emotion, is that anger, whenever you are angry, know that there's one of these four things going on. And this is where you need to look. What made you hurt? What made you afraid? What is making you feel unsafe? Okay? Now what we understand, of course, is that under all of these, in the soul, there's all the positive sanskaras of the soul. Okay? So this is where you have to go back to these feelings that are soul conscious. And basically, what's the antidote to hurt? What's the antidote to hurt? How do you love? Okay. Okay, great. So, with the hurt, that's where some of the healing comes in. And fear, I think, it really helps to have faith after a while in Baba and faith in the drama, and it helps immensely. Faith in karma. Oh, it just helps immensely to have those kinds of faith. But hurt is something that needs to heal. And Baba's love helps heal it. But why Baba's love? Why Baba's qualities? What are we taking from God that allows us to heal? Those things allows us to heal, but what it's creating is it's creating a soul-conscious self-respect. Because until we have soul-conscious self-respect, we're going to feel hurt. Does that make sense? So, there's Murlis where Baba speaks beautifully about just take your identity from knowing you're God's beloved child. You know how the other night Baba said he loves us very, 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 very much. Did you count the varies? I counted the varies. The reason is there's one other Murli where he says very 4 times, and I thought, is he going to say very 4 times? And he did. Anyhow, I love it when Baba does that. But to heal, I think one of the things we need to do when we're hurt is to just put ourselves either in soul world or in the subtle region and allow ourselves to take the love. Baba knows who we are. He knows all our weaknesses. He knows all our negativities. If we were all perfect, would he have anything to do? God would be out of a job, you know? So, Baba knows who we are and he accepts who we are. And can we accept who we are? We're shamed. Maybe we're disheartened. Maybe we're afraid that I'll never become complete when I feel these negative emotions. But that's where we have to have faith in the process. Faith in the process that if I just continue to remember God, he will make me pure. It's a process. It takes time. The daddies didn't do it in a month. or a couple of years. It took him a bit longer, and it takes us a bit longer. But there's certain things we can do that help. So when you're feeling an emotion that you don't want to feel, the first thing to lessen the intensity is to accept that you're having the emotion and not blame yourself. Don't think, how can I feel this? How many years have I been in Guyana? Oh, da-da-da-da-da-da, you know. None of that. This is not the path of beating the self up. So accept the emotion, and what happens immediately, the intensity of the emotion will go away. And if you've already looked at the root, and if you've already understood the emotion, and you have processed it, and you know where it comes from, as soon as it comes up, you can just use the power to stop, go into peace, and finish it. But how do you get there? Because that's what eventually you can do. A negative thought will come up, it won't faze you at all, it won't bother you at all. You put the power to stop, and you go on and you fly. And it doesn't even register. You see it coming and it stops, okay? But how do you get to that place? One of the things that I have found is useful is recognizing the different parts of ourselves. For example, our mind can have a personality very much like a child. Let's say somebody hurts your feelings. Let's say they're going someplace and they didn't invite you. So how do you feel? Rejected? Okay. So somebody's going someplace, they don't invite you, you feel rejected. So your mind goes, they didn't invite me. Or whatever it goes. And how do you react when your mind does that? Don't be so whiny. Honestly, look how old you are. Why are you feeling that way? For heaven's sakes, this is ridiculous. Now, they had very many good reasons why they didn't invite you. Now, just be quiet. But, okay. So the more you try to shut down the child, usually the more it whines and the more it demands your attention. So there's another thing you can do, because we all have a child inside, and our child, I don't know how old your child is. Sometimes the child is like 4 years old, sometimes it's 5 years old, sometimes it's 6, 7, 8. Hi, Helen. Good to see you. 6, 7, 8, so it gets to be older. And so that little part there. And so that little part you need to communicate with. And so there's another part of you, the part that is critical, and it's called in psychology a critical parent in some forms of psychology. But what you want to do is, instead of developing a critical parent, develop a soul-conscious parent, develop a wise parent. And if you can develop a wise parent that will actually listen to the child, then the child can actually begin to grow up and mature and can help you. And the child is actually very wise, or it can be very wise, because the child is tuned into vibrations. And so the child very often knows what's happening. And so you want to be sensitive to your child. For example, I'm just going to give you a dialogue between your whiny child and your nurturing parent. And so inside you can say to yourself, okay, critical parent, you're not helping me. I want to nurture this child so it can help me. So I want you, the critical parent, to be a nurturing parent. And get an agreement with yourself. You know, if you start to talk meanly to yourself, you say, I don't want you to talk to me that way anymore. I am a good soul, and I'm doing my best, and I want you to be kind to me. Okay? So you have a nurturing parent now, and you have your child that's small, that's whining. Okay, and so what you can do is you can actually take a notebook, and you can have the child speak on one side of the piece of paper, and you can have your nurturing adult speak on the other side of the piece of paper. Or you can go like this. Okay? And so, the child says, "They didn't invite me." The nurturing parent's going to listen. "You feel bad about that?" "Yeah, that was mean." "So, you think they were mean to you, huh?" "Yeah, they were mean. They could have asked me to come." "Yeah, I guess they could have asked you to come. It feels bad not to be invited, doesn't it?" "Mm-hmm." "Well, listen carefully. This is the critical question to ask your child. What should they have done?" "They should have invited me." "That's right. They should have invited you. How about you and I? How about together? We always include people. How about together we always include everybody and always make everybody feel welcome? Should we do that together?" "Okay." "Great. We're the one that includes everyone, aren't we?" "Uh-huh." And then the next time you don't feel invited or you don't feel welcome, you can just say to yourself, "I'm the one that includes everyone." Now, what happened in this conversation is you've actually gone to feeling victimized and unloved to feeling empowered and being a bestower. Do you see what happened? This is important. Also, the question, what should they have done, is actually my karmic lesson. This is actually happening in the drama because it is my karma. I have a karmic lesson. That's why it's happening. And my karmic lesson is that I need to be sure I include everyone and I welcome everyone. So this little conversation can help you leap to being empowered to do what is your karmic lesson. And it can also save you hours of misery. So when there's a negative emotion and you have this whininess inside, in this turmoil inside, stop. Stop. Do it early in the morning, do it before you go to bed, do it in the middle of the day. It only takes 5 minutes. It may take 10 minutes, it may take 15 sometimes if it's a deeper emotion. But you'll see what you need to work on, and then you'll know what you need to work on, and you can do it. And pretty soon the same situation will come, you'll know what the karmic lesson is, and you can just be there and do what you need to do in karma. Does that make sense? Okay, great. So we have the child, the nurturing parent, and we've gotten rid of the critical parent, and we're accepting our emotions. So, great. And then let also Baba heal you. What I explained is a useful tool. However, Baba does say that sometimes the longer you are in Gyan, sometimes the harder that Maya comes. Fortunately, Baba always gives us the power we need. You will never need to leave Baba. You will never need to leave Gyan. You may need to hang on with all 10 nails, but if you follow Srimat, you will never have a test that you cannot handle. So continue to follow Srimad. Continue to follow the Maryadas and continue to take that love. But as I said, sometimes when you get older, there are tests that come to you. I give another class on conquering lust, the greatest enemy. I had included a Kleenex in here and it disappeared. Helen, do you have a Kleenex? Thank you. There it is. Magic. It wasn't. Thanks. So, there's another class I used to give when I was much younger, and I was 15 years at Gyan, and I accidentally fell in love with someone. And that was the roughest year of my Brahmin life. So sometimes there are tests, but just hang on to the Maryadas and you'll be fine. But there are other tests that come. And so in these other tests, I know there was a test with a family member, a Lokik family member. And so some of the tests are more difficult than others. And when you have a difficult test that you cannot resolve in a 5, 10, 15-minute session with this, maybe you'll understand it. And very often there may be emotion that may be lingering, either of sorrow or of sorrow. And so one of the things that you will have to develop, or that's really useful to develop, is to really learn how to take love from Baba. I mean, if you're feeling deeply rejected by someone or whatever happens, you know, if you're either go into Baba's room or lay down in your own private bed and just be in the subtle regions, put Bab Dada by your bed, allow him to stroke your head or allow Mama to come and stroke your head, and just wrap yourself in a cocoon of light. And wrap yourself in a cocoon of love. And learn how to draw that cocoon of love around you and really enjoy it. And start to take your self-respect from Baba. You know, with Brahmins, there's many tests that come too, because you know, all of our self-respect, these false identities, these body-conscious identities, we take our self-respect from, and this is where all our lessons come from. But these body-conscious self-identities that we take, what happens is we come into Gyan and we become BKs, and then we have other body-conscious identities. So I am good because I am this many years in Gyan. And do you know what the sister asked me to do? And do you know what I got to do? And I did this. And do you know what kind of badge I have? Do you know what Daddy gave me? Do you? So anyhow, these are all the body-conscious BK self-respects. So what do we need? It's called soul-conscious. So soul-conscious self-respect. And it's a little bit harder to develop, but you know, Baba talks about it sometimes, and he talks about it when I mentioned, you are a beloved child of God. Look at the drill Baba has us do. There's a reason he has to do the drill, because he wants us to experience all of these things and have them. So take your self-respect from those things, that you get to be an instrument. You get to learn to be benevolent again, that you're an angel, that you're beautiful, that God loves you. But don't take it from any of these body-conscious things. Always just know you have a small grain of turmeric, and that you also have the fortune of a beautiful, beautiful puzzle of helping make a peaceful world. And that you are in charge of your own puzzle piece, and everyone else has a part of the puzzle. And each one of our puzzle pieces are immensely important. And our job is to make our puzzle piece shine and to be as beautiful as it can be, right? Okay, great. And so those types of things for the soul conscious self-respect. Okay, so unfortunately, anger we could spend about 4 hours on. Anger is a deep subject. And unfortunately, there's many different layers of anger. There is the anger when we're just angry at someone. And then when we finally learn how not to be angry at people, then there's people that are angry at us, right? And then we get angry because they were angry at us, right? And so then there's that level of anger. And then you feel guilty that you're still angry because they got angry, and you resent it. And so there's so many different levels of anger. But basically, one of the things you can do with anger, is you look at the initial incident. I'm sorry, this is a whole workshop on its own. But you look at the initial incident, okay? And you write down what happened. Okay, she called me a name. She called me selfish. Okay, or she called me something. Okay, then you list all your waste thoughts. Your automatic waste thoughts. And then you look at your attachment. Mike George gives a lovely class on in stress-free living on, are you attached to the P's? Position, power, pounds, things like that, possessions. But look at your attachment. And then what you basically want to do is, what you're doing here is you're looking at your waste thoughts, and then you're looking at the root. That's your attachment. You're looking at the attachment or the root. You want to find the root. And what you need to do is find one thing that is powerful enough that can knock out this waste thought. Okay? Because what you want to do with anger is, first of all, you have to stop getting angry yourself. So first of all, you have to control your own anger. But then when people are getting angry at you, and we've been trained, most of us have been trained, our society tells us that you have a right to be angry, right? Well, you should get angry. That was really a rotten thing for them to do. I mean, they're a really rotter, aren't they? Don't you think they're a real rotter? I mean, how could they do that to you? Okay. So what you need is one powerful thought that's powerful enough to knock this one out. And for example, I remember recently somebody was going off. People often have Maya when they're tired. Make sure you get enough rest. Make sure the one you have problems with gets enough rest too. Because a lot of people, they just get upset when they're tired. So I remember this one sister went off on me. And it was really interesting because I had just read a Murli, and Baba was saying, if someone is really angry, or if someone is having difficulty, then you just need to stay in a space of love. And it was so interesting because she got angry. And I just instantly thought of that line in the Murli. Whenever anyone's upset, I have to be in a space of love. And so it's like what you want to do when you're angry is stop your angry reaction as soon as possible. One of the reasons we don't eat garlic and onions is because garlic and onions are the chemical, the nutrient building blocks for the production of adrenaline. So these nutrient building blocks for the production of adrenaline, are so that to not have them so that we can stop our physiological response when we start to get upset. So if someone is getting angry, if you have an angry thought, how dare they treat me this way? Well, what a lot of nerve they have after all I've done for them. Right? And then you go, you're off, you're gone. So the sooner you can actually control your thoughts in a situation where you normally get better, the better. Because once you get an adrenaline rush, the harder it is to control the anger. So with anger, you want to have deeply studied it so you know you're just feeling hurt or scared. And you really want to develop your soul-conscious self-respect. And then you want one sentence that for you is powerful enough to get you soul-conscious again. So the sister goes off, and I think. Sometimes I actually think she's tired, because that's why she's having Maya. She's so tired. She's tired. She needs love. And I just put myself in a stronger state of yoga, in soul consciousness, and I stay in a state of love. And usually about 10 minutes later, the soul comes and apologizes. Now, if you go into anger eternally, maybe you don't say anything. But if you go into anger eternally and are resenting them, they do not come and apologize in 10 minutes. It's very interesting. If you study it, it's fascinating. But if you're holding your resentment, they do not come and apologize. But if you're holding only love, when they come and apologize, it's over. Because you're not holding the resentment. So there's not that continuance of the problem. Is this making sense? Great.
पांडव शिव शक्ति सेना की रणभेरी अब फिर बजती है शिव बाबा के ज्ञान से फिर माया को मार भगाना है शिव पिता को अब याद करो सतयुग में तुमको आना है अपने संकर्मों के बल पर ही सतयुग में अब तुम्हें आना है, धाम में तुम्हें सतयुग में अब तुम्हें आना है, धाम में तुम्हें जाना है.
Shanti. So let's still lickety split with the rest of the negative emotions. See if we can do them quickly. Any questions so far about the anger? You okay with that? Yes. What's a thing of being? You mean you'd like an example? Oh, feeling unsafe. Once I was extremely, extremely ill, so I couldn't sit up and breathe. So I had to lay down, and I decided to take a journey halfway around the world. So the thought was, I'm in Baba's lap. Completely did it. Didn't. Unsafe, I'm under Baba's protection. It just, I mean, if you really have faith in Baba, you know, and over time, the longer you stay a Brahmin, the more you will have faith. And that thought, you just think, I'm in Baba's lap. Baba's my protector. And you feel safe, and it just goes away. Yeah. The fear is very interesting. Once, it's very interesting how we don't trust the laws of karma. I remember once I was afraid of what somebody thought. I was the president of this board of directors, and this new board member came, and he was allergic to me. Allergic to me, allergic to the white sari. I mean, just allergic. And the rest of the board members loved me. Well, after one board meeting, you know, he went out and he was talking outside by the car with one of the other board members who I dearly loved. And I thought, oh no, he's going to influence her, and what's she going to think if he says all these negative things about me? And so I was afraid. And then I just, you know, apply knowledge. Apply the wisdom of your nurturing parent, your soul conscious part. Apply that wisdom lovingly to the part that is scared. And I thought, you know, apply knowledge. He can only talk about me as much as it's in my karmic account. So he's lightening my karmic account, but he can't talk about me negatively any more than is in my karmic account. So he's lightening my load. And what's my duty? I'm a yogi. So my duty is to give him good wishes. And with that, I very restfully and peacefully went to sleep. So, you know, talk to yourself. Explain to the part that's hurt very lovingly. You know, use your deep experiences with Baba. Okay, jealousy is an easy one. Well, I think. Jealousy, a thought that really helps is they're getting what they deserve. And I will get everything I deserve. Nothing can keep my good karma from following me. As Baba says, your good karma will follow you like a shadow, right? So everything that is mine will come to me. There's other sayings. A true diamond cannot be hidden. So if you're not getting what you feel you deserve at that moment, just know it's because you need to get over the feeling of not feeling like you're not getting what you deserve. And just think, whatever is mine will come to me. Attachment. attachment is a really interesting one. And with attachment, I think, and I'm not sure about this, I was just thinking about this morning, because, I didn't used to think that attachment was a problem for me, and it isn't right now. But I went through probably the biggest test of my life about 3 years ago, and it was attachment to a Lokik family member. And then I realized I had an attachment problem with somebody that had left Baba a few years ago, a sister. And it was very interesting because I thought, okay, these are two attachments that I can identify where there was pain as a result. Because if there's pain, then there's Maya, there's some sort of vice going on. And I thought, how did I develop that attachment, and why was it hard to get rid of that pain, or why was that pain created? And what I finally figured out was I had taken some of my well-being from them. I had taken some of my concept of who I was from them. So the love that you can get from someone that makes you feel special can create attachment. And from our Lokik relatives, if the relationship has been since birth, then there is all kinds of very deep bonding that has taken place at birth. And so the lesson is, let Baba be your one support. Is Baba my one support? Do I really know who I am in relationship to Baba? Do I really see other people as souls? Do I love them as souls, no matter who they are, no matter what they've done? And so it's a beautiful process, because what Baba's teaching us is how to be free again and how to be completely benevolent. It's a beautiful process. But this thing of attachment is a lot deeper than I thought it was, because, I hadn't really considered it to be a problem for me at all. And then I recognized, one of my biggest tests came with this. And it was fascinating. And so it was a deep, deep healing process with Baba. And you know how Baba says, have all relationships with him. Do we take love from Baba deeply as our mother, as our father, as our friend? Do we really do that? Because then my relationships with other people can just be full of joy, full of respect, full of light, full of purity. You see them coming and you just see that light and you're full of light. And you get to truly enjoy them. And you almost get to practice, Are we practicing now what it's like to have relationships for Golden Age? Do we fill ourselves with light? And do we treat others with that kind of light? So, it's, now, Baba's just giving us so many opportunities to learn to be free and to really relate with a new kind of sensitivity and regard. Okay, there's, let me see. We did a little bit about resentment, but what truly, truly will finally get rid of any resentment is acceptance. To really just accept your emotion and accept that you're having it and accept the situation and deeply accept yourself. And don't mind that you feel resentful. Accept that you have it. and then look and see what the karmic lesson is. And if you deeply accept and then look at the karmic lesson and accept that lesson, you will find that the resentment is gone. It's magic. Okay. Disheartenment. Disheartenment is a fascinating one. Baba says that there are two main reactions of souls, and the main reactions of souls are to feel disheartened or to feel arrogant. And he says that that basically when something negative happens, that's how we will react, either feeling disheartened or arrogant. Now, how many of you, I shouldn't ask that, I won't ask it. I was going to ask how many of you feel disheartened sometimes, but I won't ask. There's a reason I won't ask. But would you say that more of you in the room feel disheartened than arrogant? Yes, okay. It's great that you feel disheartened. Congratulations. Now, the reason is if you feel arrogant, do you know that you have a problem? No. It's them, right? So if you're arrogant, you're always blaming someone else. You are never wrong. So actually, it's better for transformation to be disheartened. Because if you're arrogant, you create so much sorrow that all this karma has to come back at you before you realize you have a problem. So congratulations being disheartened. If you're arrogant, try to get over it as quickly as possible. People that are arrogant, and we have both of those sanskaras within us. All of us are arrogant, and all of us are disheartened at some level. But people that are primarily arrogant most of the time, my personal feeling is that they're afraid of facing their own pain. And if you can just be with Baba in the subtle region and go into the root of that and accept it and tell Baba about it, you don't need to be afraid of it. You will be safe. Baba will keep you safe. And of course, over the cycle, we all swing from the pendulum, from arrogance to being disheartened. And what Baba's trying to do is trying to get us off that pendulum. You know, when we swing to arrogance, we don't respect others. Baba tells us to respect all others. When we swing to disheartenment, we don't respect ourselves. So Baba wants us to be in Brahmin culture, respecting all others, respecting ourselves. But if you feel disheartened, you just have to know that Baba loves you immensely. And have hope for yourself. Baba has hope in you, and Baba knows. Baba will fill you with all the qualities that you want to have. There's a lovely saying, and Baba says, your duty is to become karmatit, and my duty is to make you complete. So all we have to do is continue with this process and make effort. And Baba will fill us. So when you feel disheartened, again, accept yourself and then accept Baba's love. And know you will get there. And know that you'll be out of it in a few days. With disheartenment and with depression, don't eat a lot of sugar. Make sure you get enough sleep. Eat healthy foods. Do some exercise. No artificial sweeteners. Take care of yourself. It's okay to take care of your body. how do I conquer sleep and how do I allow the body the rest? You know, every one of us is different in terms of sleep needs. And some of it depends on age, you know, so, and how healthy you are. But take care of the body. This body's the only one you have at the confluence age as a Brahmin at this point in time. So take care of it. My rule of thumb is always do Amrit Vela. So get to bed early enough that you can feel rested and make your effort in Amrit Vela. You know, make a rule for yourself. If I haven't gotten this many hours of sleep, then I will skip it. But usually that means you need to skip it once or twice a year. Take a nap, go to bed early, renounce a little bit of service. Your yoga is the most important. Your yoga, your relationship with Baba keeps you safe. That keeps you a Brahmin. That's number one. So if you need more sleep, take it. If you're depressed, if you're whiny, if you're getting angry, stop, have a nap, cut the sugar, get some rest, nurture yourself, play music that you love, dance, have a walk somewhere beautiful, talk to a friend, give yourself the support that you need. You know, as much as possible, stay in a state of pleasure with Baba. And does that make sense? Have we done most of them? I think we've done most of them. Some quite lightly, but anyhow, there's a whole nother separate class on depression that you can get, I think. But I wanted to say a couple more things and make sure I've said most of them. That so we understand, we want to heal. So to understand the process with Gyan, with the study of samskaras, we want to heal the communication between the different parts of the self, the acceptance, the really deeply, deeply, deeply taking the love, the purity, the peace. And then the transformation is when I have looked at the root and I understand it, and I have developed a powerful word that stops me. Okay? Like if you notice an emotion coming up, and it comes up maybe because someone's annoying you, or they're demanding something, they're always asking for extra things, they're being disruptive, whatever it is, they're setting Baba's house on fire. I mean, just amazing things can happen. So whatever it is, accidentally, of course. But whatever it is, I mean, I think it helps to realize that anything that happens is in your drama and there's something. Like, for example, just today, you know, somebody was very late, and I was thinking, okay, this is drama. So if it's drama, what are we supposed to be doing in drama? If it's drama, what we're supposed to be doing is really just relaxing with Baba, staying in a state of pleasure. So if you've looked at the root, then you can look at every situation and say, okay, in that situation, if I think this. Like once there was this neighbor, and she found out that the back door of the center was open. And so during the day, and so she wouldn't call, she wouldn't knock, she'd just open up the back door, and she'd come up the stairs. And I was, you know, I tend to concentrate, and when I concentrate, I really concentrate. So I don't hear a thing. So I haven't heard anything. And all of a sudden, I'm at the computer, and there's this voice behind me. Diane, would you print this out for me? Diane, can you do, you know? And so the first and second time I lost my train of thought, and I thought, you know, why is she doing this? And I got just slightly irritated. And then I thought, okay, I'm letting my sanskaras not be in a state of love and pleasure. That's what Baba wants me to stay in. So what do I need to do? And so I thought, okay, next time, if she ever does this again, instead of even thinking anything, instead of even thinking one thought, I'll just see her and I'll immediately bring into my mind the word love. So the next time, and I thought, because it's my duty to give love to every soul, right? So the next time she came up, when she did that, I just looked at her and I thought the word love, and I could be how Baba wanted me to be. You know what the funny thing was? She then stopped doing it. So the karmic lesson was over. So be determined. Know that Baba knows that you can do this, and know that you can do it. So just continue to make determined effort and to play with these kinds of things. You know, play here as much as possible. You stay here. You know, when we do the drill, we experience so many elevated things. And what Baba wants us to do is to play with all of these. And as we play with these, we have power to take this one thought firmly into the mind and put a full stop and use that power of yoga. And when we use that full stop and we can experience these easily, then we can stay in the stage we want to be in rather than going down another road. Okay, we're ending. We just have a couple minutes left, then we'll have a couple of minutes. Any questions? It, I didn't catch the last sentence, so why? Great, thank you. Baba says do not be sensitive, and he says to be sensible. When Baba's talking about not be sensitive, okay. 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 When Baba says do not be sensitive, what he means is do not be sensitive to things other people said this about me, other people did not do this when they should have. Do not be a delicate flower that wilts, you know, because in these types of processes, what we're talking about is that when we have emotions that come up, it's healthy to learn to deal with them. Because if we don't learn to deal with them, they erupt and they can ferment and they can cause problems. If we know how to go to the root and we know how to talk to ourselves with love, then the problem is often over in a few minutes. If you don't know how to do this, you can waste days and weeks and months of your Brahman life. So what you're learning to do is how to go to a root and to solve it and to come up with a karmic lesson so you can be in a strength of power. And the more emotions that you do with this with, the more of these things are erased and the freer you are. Every time you do this, you're learning how to be powerful and how to be strong and how to be free again. Does that make sense? Because what we want to do is fly and to be free. But if anybody can get us going, then we can't do that. So I want to wish you all good luck. You have great fortune and much, much love. And let's remember Baba for a couple of minutes. Okay. Om Shanti.